Hello, my name is Shivaji Kumar, and I want to welcome all of you to this session. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, welcome to this session. As I said, my name is Shivaji Kumar, and I am currently working with the US Bank as Accessibility Manager. So in my multiple roles, I do have to report to various stakeholders that I regularly interact with, but also use these reports that I get for improving internal efficiency, planning, and strategic implementation. Today, at this session, I'm joined by Harris. I will turn it over to him, and he's going to introduce himself.
Thank you, Shivaji. Welcome everyone to Extensive Testing and Reporting with Axe DevTools. I'm Harris Schneiderman. I'm actually the product manager of Axe DevTools, the browser extension in the Pro plan. But today I'm going to be playing developer, which shouldn't be hard because I'm also a developer. And I'm going to show you how to run some accessibility tests, find and fix and validate issues. And also in the mix, we're going to showcase a brand new feature for Axe DevTools Pro that deals with reporting. I'll leave that as a surprise, which we will see about midway through. So I'm really excited to showcase this all for you. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So let me set some context. We are pretending to be part of this fake bank called VaultWise. I promise you this plan to do with the bank had nothing to do with the banking drama in the news lately, but the timing is pretty funny there. So we have a pretty basic web application. It's like my own banking dashboard. There's like a hero banner with an image and some text overlaying it. We have a chart with this week's spending. We have recent deposits and recent transactions. So what you'd expect to see in your own little banking portal. Beside that, docked to the right, I have my Axe DevTools Browser Extension. And that's where we're going to be doing a lot of our accessibility testing. Now, I don't want this to come off as a sales pitch at all, but disclaimer, in the literal title, we have Axe DevTools. So I'm going to be showing Axe DevTools, and some of these features are in fact paid. So just a disclaimer. I'll try to call out when they are free versus paid. So let's just get started. What I'm going to do is something that's free for everyone to do with the browser extension. You can download it for Chrome or Edge or Firefox, and you can scan all of your page. So I'm going to click scan all of my page. And within a matter of milliseconds, we have 6 issues found, 1 critical and 5 serious. Those are categorized into 2 different rules, if you will. The first of which is buttons must have discernible text. So we have I've highlighted it now on the screen. We have a notification bell icon button without text. So that's bad. Screen readers will read out something like button blank or button empty. We want to actually describe what the meaning of that button is, something like notifications. The other category is color contrast. Elements must have sufficient color contrast. Our VaultWise banking branding colors are a little iffy. We have a light blue heading and link text on pretty much a white background. So we're going to want to address that. But before we address that, I want to take our testing further. So far, I've just run Axe Core, basically is what happened under the hood of this extension. That can, on average or by volume, catch 57% of our accessibility issues. We want to take that a step further with intelligent guided testing, which I will describe here in a minute. In order to run the intelligent guided tests, which are pro features, I have to save my test. So I'm going to give it a name. I click Save Test, and I'm going to say hello, AxeCon. Super excited to be here. So VaultWise hello, AxeCon is my test name, and we're going to get into some intelligent guided tests. So intelligent guided tests. The way you can think about those are a series of guided tests or semi-automatic tests that will ask you a series of simple questions, oftentimes yes or no, or select missing elements. A lot of them are equipped with our fancy machine learning computer vision to enhance and optimize your test even further. But really, these tests can be run by anyone on your team. You don't have to be a WCAG or ARIA guru. Just familiar enough with the content to answer some basic questions, and then the extension itself will do the heavy lifting for you and find some of the more sophisticated accessibility issues that would otherwise take an expert to find. So probably better than I can describe would be a demo. for those of you who learn that way. So let's actually get into running a few of these IGTs. Let's start with table. So reminder, we have a recent transaction table that has a date column, a seller name, a location, payment method, and amount column. And we're going to test that table. So let's get started. I'm going to hit start. It took a screenshot of each table it found on the page. In this case, there's just one. So there's a nice little thumbnail here that I can highlight the table on the page. And I'm going to hit next after selecting the one table. Next up, it's going to ask me what type of data table we're testing. The options available are a table with one row of headers, a table with one column of headers, a table with one header row and one header column, and then some of the more complicated table types, those with irregular headers and those with multi-level headers. Luckily for everybody, we're just going to be testing a quite simple table with one table row of headers. So I'm going to hit select that and hit next, and it's going to capture some screenshots of each data cell. Also, briefly before that happened, a loader showed up and said our AI is scanning the table. And I'm going to describe how our AI or our computer vision actually is going to make this testing go a lot faster and a lot easier and a lot more reliable. So we're going to actually end up testing each data cell. Right now, for a warning, we do have a table that is inaccessible. Spoiler alert. The things that are visibly marked as table headers, they have a gray background and bold text across the top row. Those are marked up as just TDs when they should be THs to signify to assistive technology that we have a table header. And so our AI actually confirmed that here. What we're looking at in the extension, we're testing the first row, first column, which is the date table header cell. And there's a message that has appeared. It says, our AI identified this as a header cell. If that is correct, click this is not a data cell. I'm going to click that for each one of these headers. So already as the tester who doesn't know what they're doing clearly, but it's okay. It's a mistake that is easily avoidable in the future. I'm learning that, hey, I probably didn't mark this table up properly. So now we're to the actual first real data cell in the body of the table. This is the March 15th, 2023 cell. And I can toggle the highlight on and off. And in this case, this is a data cell, and there's no warning anymore that says this doesn't look to be a data cell. So it's asking us to identify this cell's headers. Now, I don't even have to do anything because first off, the machine learning determined what things appear visually as a header. We ran some other analysis and we got confirmation from me as the tester that those were not in fact data cells. So now we have a lot of signs pointing to a good understanding of what this table's markup is. So the AI actually went ahead and pre-selected this table header. Again, it's not marked as a table header for me. So all I have to do, because it's saying the following elements were identified as headers, please select any we missed. There's nothing missing. It's a simple table. So I can actually just hit next. And same thing goes for the next cell, Vons, which is the seller name. Vons is like a super grocery store here in San Diego. And I can actually, once again, just hit next. It pre-selected that fake header for me. So for time's sake, I'm just going to smash the next button over and over again till we get to the end of the table. All right, so we're done testing tables. I'm on the results screen. I found 5 issues with my table in about 3 minutes, most of which was me rambling on about the product. But we found 5 separate issues, one for each of the missing headers. So luckily, that's going to be pretty easy to fix, but we're not going to fix them quite yet. I'm going to run a couple more IGTs. So next IGT I want to run is probably my favorite, one of the cooler tools we have. It's the keyboard tool, keyboard IGT. So I'm about to hit start here in a minute. As soon as I do, I'm not going to touch my keyboard. I'm going to let the robots tab through my page, and a number of accessibility checks will be taking place for us. Like I said, these IGTs try to do the heavy lifting for you when possible. So I'm going to hit start, and right away, the robots are tabbing through the page. As it tabs through, each tab stop gets its own highlight with a little enumeration of its sequence. So we have highlights that go 1 through 6 for the 6 tab stops that were recorded on the page. So it told me that, and it says, cool, we recorded all the tab stops. Click next to continue. All right, so it's doing a number of things very quickly. It took screenshots of elements in their focused and unfocused state. We used computer vision to assess whether there was a focus indicator present or not. It's pretty cool. Otherwise, it would have taken an expert or a tester quite a bit of digging in to determine if there's a focus indicator or not. So that's a great check. But we're on to the first actual question where it's going to require my my human brain for once, which is nice to feel valuable to the robots. So it says, are there any elements that you expected to be in the tab order, but were not? And I have this hero banner that I talked about earlier with a find an ATM link. That didn't show up in the tab order. So I'm going to say, yes, there were elements skipped in the tab order. Seems very peculiar. So now it's asking me to select any of those missing tab stops. So I'm going to, with my mouse, select find an ATM. But I know what you're thinking. Not everyone can use a mouse. So Axe DevTools Browser Extension does offer a mini little DOM tree viewer that's marked up like an ARIA tree, so you can arrow around and make selections with the keyboard. It's keyboard friendly, it's screen reader friendly, power user friendly. Sometimes elements are a little tricky to target, so this element selector comes in the clutch there. So I've selected my one missing tab stop. We're going to move on. And actually, we're done. So in a couple minutes, we found another 5 issues. We found a bunch of these anchors on the page. These links are missing visible or visual focus indicators. And then we have a separate issue for the find an ATM link. For those of you who have caught it, it's pretty funny. It's a div with the class fake link. So we've probably seen stuff like that in the wild all too often. We need to actually update that div to an anchor tag, but we'll do that here in a minute. One last IGT we're going to run is the structure IGT. That's going to help us test our headings, our lists, our languages, titles, role application elements, and media elements when applicable. So let's start with headings. So it said, hey, we've highlighted the one heading we could find on your site. Do you see any that should not be headings? What it highlighted was the vault-wise bank H1 in the top bar, but that's the only heading it found. And I'm familiar enough with this content because, remember, I'm playing the developer who's authoring this content, and I know that we use a title component for some of these tiles, and those should be marked up as headers. The designer talked with me about it beforehand, and I probably just forgot because I'm silly like that. So it's not, we basically want to select those missing headings. So the second question is, are there any headings we missed? And I'm going to say, yes, I can see some headings that you didn't highlight. So I'm going to go ahead and, for time's sake, use my mouse to point and click on each of these titles that should be marked up as headers. That's great. I'm done selecting my missing headers. So now it's great. We've informed the IGT of all the headers that should be on the page. So we've given it that nice kind of table of contents hierarchy for the structure of the page. And now it's asking us if each heading itself, the text within that heading, accurately describes the content that immediately follows it. We want to make sure that if you were to view these headings in isolation, certain assistive technologies like VoiceOver will let you view the headings in like a rotor, a little dialogue. And so we want to make sure that those headings accurately convey what each section of content is about. So first one, vault-wise bank, I think that makes sense. That's the name of our company. Your money, our mission, that's our slogan. It's a good header for the find an ATM link and that whole hero banner. If we had paragraph text or whatever, that'd be great. This week. Now in isolation, I don't think we would know what this week means. I would probably want to see something more like this week's spending. So I'm going to say, no, this does not accurately describe the content that follows it. Tisk, tisk. We have recent deposits and we have recent transactions. Both of those are perfectly fine to describe the content. I'm gonna hit next. We don't have any lists, so nothing to test there. Are there any additional sections of content which differ from the page-wide language? I happen to know, we just coded it, that we have a Spanish version of this site. And so in the footer, there is a hablas español, ver la versión en español. So I'm going to say, yes, there is some content that needs some separate language from the rest of the document. The rest of the document, of course, is in English. So I've selected that element and I hit next. We are now into testing titles. So the document title is vault-wise bank. Does it accurately describe the purpose of the page? I think it does. Document titles are important to be descriptive. That's the first thing screen readers will hear. That's the first thing a lot of your users will encounter. So it should always describe the purpose of the page, especially in modern single page applications where developers might forget to update the title. We want to make sure that it really tells you where you're at in the app. So alternatively, we can actually prefix this with dashboard or something, but I'll give us a pass here because it does describe this one page. All right, 6 more issues we just found. We're done with testing structure. We have some headings that are missing. The issue is described as text appears and functions like a section heading, but is not marked up as such. And we also have that lang change problem. So change in language for a portion of content is not coded. Luckily, Since I'm a developer, I'm aware of certain attributes like the lang attribute. If I wasn't, we do offer these more information links on every issue that you find, and that will contain a background on the issue and how you might fix the issue. So this will tell me actually to use the lang attribute. So that's going to be great to peel into when we go to actually fix these. All right, so recap, we just ran hack, scan, and then 3 IGTs, and we are at a total of 22 issues. So I'm about to showcase a brand new feature that is actually going to be live next week. I'm giving you a little sneak peek of it. And if you're a current Axe DevTools Pro user, you might have seen the feature of being able to share a specific issue, which is great. You can click the share issue button, open up a new tab, and you got yourself a nice dynamic generated page for your specific issue that you found. It has all the information you'd want. You have a screenshot, a selector for that element, how to fix it, and even some resources on the background for the issue. That's great for an individual issue. You also might have seen the features to export either all your issues or specific subset of your issues, or even the JSON representation of your whole saved test. Now, in reality, I'm going to break out of my hypothetical developer position. Working with customers like US Bank, we found that because they're pretty awesome at what they do, they were often in situations where they had 0 issues, which is great. They're Axe clean, as we'll call it. And so if you're Axe clean, meaning you have 0 issues found in the extension through all your IGT testing, all your Axe core scans, exporting an empty CSV is silly. We do offer that JSON representation, but that's like an empty array, and really only developers know how to read that, parse it, and generate reports with it. So there's an obvious missing gap in reporting capabilities. So the brand new feature I'm announcing today is sharing an entire saved test. So just like that shared issue that I just showed, we have a full-on shared saved test report. I've just clicked the button to share my saved test, and now I have a link to it copied to my clipboard. So hey, Shivaji, I want you to take a look at my progress so far. I'm sorry to report we have 22 accessibility issues. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, thank you, Harris. Let me review what these issues are. To begin with, 22 issues. To me, it's not acceptable. But let me review what the issues are, and then I'll get back to you. So there are 4 issues that are visually marked as headings, but they're actually not coded as headings. This is important for screen reader users. If you are just hearing the website instead of visually reading it, it is important for the screen reader user to hear the headings properly marked out, so that they know the most important heading is H1, the next most important is H2, H3, similarly, right? So it gives a visual picture in their heads as to how to understand the entire content on a page. So it's important. And there are 4 issues on this world-side bank. Then there's 5 issues that are related to table. Now, in my real world, which is the US Bank, we have lots of tables, and banks produce lots of tables with all kinds of data for both internal consumption as well as when they interact with customers. So getting these tables and their heading structure right is really important. So 5 errors with tables, to me, that's a big number, and that definitely needs fixing. Visual indicators, there are 4 issues, and if you are a keyboard user, you want to make sure that as you are tabbing through a web page, your visual indicator is always visible to you, so that you know where you are on the page. So for a keyboard user, and I am a keyboard user, it is really critical for me for all times to see where my focus is. And then another issue that's really important, and that's the last one I want to focus on, the change of language. If you have 2 languages, content in 2 languages on your page, it is really important that we do mark it as with that lang attribute, so that the screen readers and other assistive technologies can pick it up accurately and relay that information to the user. So Harris, so this report does not paint a rosy picture to me. I want you to take it back, fix all the 22 issues, and report them back to me.
All right, I think I can do that. We'll see how it goes. So I did want to briefly describe the report that we just reviewed. I tried to follow along. We didn't want to pass screen share back and forth, but we have an overview of all the testing that took place, a breakdown by impact, and a breakdown by IGT, or Intelligent Guided Test Run. This also contains a issues view that you can filter based on the links you click from the overview. So you can actually share this subset of issued report to your teammates, your boss, the stakeholders at your business, or attach it to something like an Epic and Jira. But enough of that. Let's get into the fun stuff. Let's fix our issues. So I'm going to go back to my extension. I'm back in the tab, not the shared save test anymore. I'm back on Vaultwise Bank with my extension open. And I want to start chipping at these issues to make Shivaji happy. And I don't want to get fired, so I'm going to fix these real quick. All right, so let's take it from the top. We found 6 automated issues. Let's look at those first. So buttons must have discernible text. Remember, that's going to be a problem because an empty button does no one any good. Screen reader users will have no idea what the purpose of that button is. So let's fix that first issue. I'm going to highlight it on the page too. So I'm going to go into my code editor. I got a little React application that built this site. And I'm going to find my notifications icon. And it's an icon button component. And I'm going to add an ARIA label of notifications. That'll give it accessible text. Of course, you probably can attend some other UX oriented talks that might teach you that this is not necessarily the best practice. We might want to add visible text when possible, when real estate allows for it, or at least a tooltip. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to add an ARIA label of notifications. I'm going to hit save. I have a nice fancy little dev server running. So it's going to actually refresh the page automatically for me. So we should see that ARIA label show up right away. Hooray. I think that's one issue down. We're not going to find out until I fix a few more. Let's fix the other automated issue that we found. Elements must have sufficient color contrast. So I just went ahead while Shivaji was talking, had a side conversation with marketing and the design team, and I got them to cave. We're going to be able to change our brand colors to be something a little darker. So I'm using Material UI. It's a very popular React framework. I'm going to remove my overriding of the default theme colors, the palette, to be darker. So I'm going to hit save, and sure enough, that light blue heading text and link text and top bar color turned into more darker blue, which should have 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio with the white background, the white text. And that's what we need to be AA compliant. So I think I've just addressed my 2 automated issues. So I'm actually going to verify that after I make more fixes. We can rerun the scan right now to see if that worked. Hopefully it did. And sure enough, we have 0 automatic issues found. Whew, we're well on our way. Now let's quickly, for time's sake, go through the rest of the fixes. So guided issues. We have our headings. Our visual heading is not marked up as a heading. That's an issue. Shivaji described why that's an issue. Let's fix it real quick. So I happen to know where some of this content is. So we have our your money, our mission. That's the first heading that appears. It's not hierarchically nested within any other heading. So I'm going to mark it an H2 because remember, so far we only have one H1, and that's the Vaultwise bank name. So I'm going to update your money, our mission to an H2. And as a recap, we also have 3 more problems with headings. Oops. And we have the, let's see, where is it? Let me refresh the page, sorry. Well, we have the this week text, the recent deposits text, and the recent transactions text that needs to be marked up as a heading. As a developer, I actually tried to be smart and create a common component for all of those. And I unfortunately marked them up as a div. So I'm going to mark those as H2s as well by updating that component prop and hit save. And sure enough, we should see that these are now updated to H2s. Look at that. So I think our headings are good to go. there's one heading that I want to fix to remember to make the heading more descriptive. This week doesn't quite cut it. So I'm going to update that to this week's spending to be very clear and concise. So what I'll do is in chart.tsx, update this week to this week's spending. So that should make the heading more descriptive and describe the content that follows it. So I think we're good on a headings front now. We've updated to use semantic headings, and we've made sure that all of our headings are descriptive. Moving on to our table issue that Shivaji called us out on. We're going to, if I can move Zoom out of my way, we're going to move over to my orders component, which is where the table lives. And Celia Harris set the actual component to be used for all of these table headers as a TD. I learned through the more info page on that issue that I need to mark that up as a TH. So by updating all of these table cells to be TH elements, that will actually convey the proper semantics of the table headers within the table and will make our table accessible, which is what we want. And finally, with our, well, second to last is our keyboard tool. So if you remember, we found issues with there being no visual focus indicator. And that was done through this pesky couple lines of CSS, and that is suppressing the outline on any anchors that receive focus. I've seen designers want to do that in the real world because outlines, especially browser default outlines, don't necessarily go with the theme of your site. And if you don't know anything about accessibility, you might have seen an outline pop up when a mouse user clicks on a button. So I've seen designers say, no, suppress all outlines, but that's bad. For the reasons that Shivaji already shared. You want your keyboard users to know where they're at when they're tabbing through the page. So I've just removed that nonsense. We're going to get our focus indicators back. And finally, we had a missing tab stop in our keyboard tool. That was this find an ATM link. Here, let's get a bigger view of this. So this find an ATM link is marked up as a div. When you click it, it actually opens up Google Maps in a new tab and shows you all the ATMs in your area. So if you're a mouse user, great. It looks like a link. It has underline on it. I even get the cursor with the little pointer guy on it. But if you're a keyboard user, with tab, I just straight up skip that element. That's bad. So we want to mark that up as an anchor, which will signify a link role to screen readers. That way, our visual appearance and our semantics match up, and our functional actually as well. So we have this div with an on click. Let's look at the on click just to drive home the point of using semantic HTML. Because I use a div, I had to create a new function that calls the JavaScript window.open method to open a new window. Now with semantic HTML, we can make that happen without needing a function. So just to drive home the point that usually using semantics not only is better from an accessibility standpoint, but it's usually simpler and easier as a developer to implement. So I'm actually going to mark this up as an anchor with the a HTML tag. I'm going to take this URL that we opened in a new tab from the function and set that as the element's href. Where am I? All right, I'm going to replace this on click with an href. And I'll keep the same open a new window functionality with the target equals underscore blank. And just like that, we've actually fixed our anchor. And now our function is no longer needed. Less JavaScript, less code to maintain. We're all happy. Hooray. So we fixed all of our keyboard tool issues. One last issue that we need to update now is, we need to fix, I should say, is the missing lang attribute. So we have the Spanish in the footer. We're going to want to go into the dashboard component again, scroll down to the footer, and we have this hablas español paragraph that we're going to add lang equals ES for Espanol. And that should tell screen readers and the browser, the user agents, that we have some Spanish content here that's breaking out of the page-wide lang, which is English, EN. So that's great. I think we are now good to go. So I'm going to open up my developer tools again. I can go back into my saved test. Hello, AxCon. We have 16 total issues. Remember, we reran our AxScan to get 0 issues. So let's quickly verify our fixes. So I think I've done everything I need to do, but Shivaji wants to see a clean report, not just take my word for it. So let's run those tests again. So I'm going to do, actually, because we're testing the same content, so I'm going to clear my run of the table tool and quickly run through it one last time. So this time around, since I described the inner workings of it, I'll go a little faster. But I'm gonna answer all the questions in the same way. We just might see less questions show up, which sure enough, I selected which type of table it was, and now we're on the results screen. The machine learning and the heuristic analysis we did in the table determined that this table in its simple form with just a single row of headers was marked up properly, and there's nothing for it to ask us. So in this case, my human brain wasn't that useful, but we are able to see that there are 0 issues for the table tool. Next up, we'll run the keyboard tool again. Same thing, I'm gonna clear this run so we can actually get that clean report. So I'm gonna click start and make sure I'm focused at the top of the page. And it's going to automatically tab through the page. This time I got 7 tab stops, which is what I expected the first time around. As a reminder, we got our find an ATM link in the tab order now, which is great. All right, it's doing the screenshot focus indication checks again. And now it's asking if there's any elements that I expected to be in the tab order, but were not. I got all 7 tab stops that I was expecting. Someone to say, no, nothing was skipped in this tab order. And just like that, we're done with keyboard tool. Keyboard 2 as well. We have 0 issues found. Took a minute. Beautiful. Lastly, let's run the structure IGT. See if we can get full on axe clean. Clear this run, start a structure run. All right, so this time around, we'll see quite a difference. It says we've highlighted the 5 headings that we could find on your site. Remember the first time around, it said just 1. So that's already promising. Looks like our heading semantics changes have worked. So it says, do you see any that should not be headings? All the headings look pretty darn valid to me. So I'm gonna say, nope, everything looks good. Asking if there's any headings we missed. Nope, everything looks good. And now we're going to assess the accessible text for the headings. Vault-wise bank, your money, our mission, this week's spending. Remember we updated that. So I think that's descriptive enough now. I think I understand what would be in that section. Recent deposits, recent transactions. We are good to go. Still no lists. Now we've got a little bit of a difference here than the first time around. It says we've detected sections of content which have specific language declarations. Are each of the following languages accurate? So it's actually just this one, and it's this footer paragraph in Spanish, and it says that it is Spanish. So I'm going to leave the yes radio button selected because that is an accurate depiction of what language is being conveyed there. All right, now it's asking me if there's any missing additional sections of content that break from the page-wide language. And in this case, no, we've covered covered one of the one. Now we've got our document title check. That's still, I think, a valid document title of Vault-wise bank. We're good to go. And yes, woo, we are at full-on axe clean. So the cool thing about the new feature with the shared test report is I don't have to do anything now. I've already shared it with Shivaji, and I can just say, hey, bossman, why don't you go ahead and refresh that report? I think I have some good news for you. So he would refresh it, and the shared save test is a live representation of my testing. So he would see it change from 22 total issues found to 0. So I'll hand it back to Shivaji to talk about what we might do with this report.
Yeah, sure. Hey, that looks neat. Thank you. I'm happy about 0. So, what I really like about this feature and this type of reporting in real time is that it helps me communicate directly, instantaneously with the developers. As a project manager, product owner, I want to have the ability to have that conversation and give feedback to my developers. What it also allows me as a product owner then is to work in an agile environment, right? So we are going back and forth in real time. Harris retested that website and sent me the report in real time. And I could see the report now. It is nice and clean, and I can then move it forward to my stakeholders, whether that be a project team or business line team, whatever that may be. So I'm really excited about this feature here. In my industry, if I were to talk about, I come from a heavily regulated banking industry where we have to follow lots of rules and regulations, government rules and regulations. So for us to have this clean report from the dev environment really allows us to then move to the testing environment And once we have a clean report from the testing environment, then we put the product into production environment. And once that production environment is complete, then we put it into compliance and monitoring. And so all these phases I just described to you, we've been able to put into place at my bank, US Bank. So looking at it strategically, when we get these clean reports from dev environment, it feeds into our other next reports, test, monitor, and allows us to meet our definition of done. We have a very strict definition of done for a product. And only when a product meets the definition of done, then we put it into our risk and compliance monitoring. So for me, this feature, this reporting feature is really critical. It helps us, my bank, and hopefully similar enterprises, to build an enterprise-wide strategic roadmap to meet our accessibility obligations and accessibility requirements. That's the draw for me of this feature from DevTools Extension.
Yeah,
take it over, Harris?
Yeah, I just wanted to just showcase the feature a little more because I didn't do a ton of explaining. And like I already said, just to reiterate, this is the reason we want to do this with Shivaji is because we worked closely with US Bank among other customers, and we kept seeing this glaring gap in our reporting. So yeah, this isn't, we're using a hypothetical bank, but the whole situation that led to this feature being developed was not hypothetical; it was real. And so a couple other problems that this feature will solve. I showcased the share issue feature that's been around for quite a while, over a year. And it's kind of annoying to have to, it's very valuable to a lot of our users, but you had to share it for each individual issue. And I know in our case, what do we have? We had 22 issues at one point. That sucks. You have to click share 22 times. With this share test feature, it will, the issues within that test kind of inherit that sharedness. So it's a way to shortcut that, and you can automatically share all of your issues at once, which is great. Because we're kind of supporting a one level zoomed out. You could share an issue before, now you can share its test. And when you go into this issues view, you can go in and get that link for any of those shared issues. Not only that, but when I'm back in the extension and I export the issues, now there is a column for the help you, or the share issue URL, and that's going to be populated now with all of those links. So that's especially useful if we're not in such a great position where I can actually resolve all these issues before pushing to production. That's great that we were able to do that, obviously. But in reality, a lot of times you're going to be triaging through hundreds of accessibility issues. So being able to export that CSV or that JSON, whichever one you prefer, and having that share issue link there to attribute or to attach to a Jira ticket is great. The developers get the selectors, they get their screenshots, everyone's happy. So really excited. The feature is, like I said, is going to be launched next week. It's in beta because it's brand new and experimental, and we want to get feedback. We want to be able to quickly pivot to accommodate as many use cases as we see fit. So when it does launch, please start a trial if you've never tried DevTools Pro before, and there will be a banner at the top with a link to a survey. If you want to give us feedback, the more feedback, the merrier. Please tell us what problems you have with it, or if you like it, that's also great to hear. So I really appreciate everyone attending today. It's been a pleasure. And I think now we can hand it to Joy for some questions. Looks like we have a few minutes.
Yes, thank you, Harris and Shivaji. And I think you really got the wheels turning here during this session. So we have a lot of great questions that have come in and some great feedback as well. All right, so with that being said, let's jump into it. So first question, is there a space for a human? And this is relating to the report. Is there a space for a human to edit and put in specific instructions in the report? For example, if it needs a heading, can someone edit and specifically say this heading needs to be an H3, or the specific lang it needs to be, such as French?
Great question. At the moment, no, there's no free-form like metadata you can attribute to an issue, but I will take that down as a very valuable feature request. It's a good question.
like I said, I think you've got some of the wheels turning here with all of this.
As the product manager, now I'm taking my developer hat off and putting my real product manager hat on. I love to hear that kind of feedback.
All right. So a little bit of feedback and another question. This is awesome functionality. Well done. I work in the government and monitor compliance with hundreds of websites. Is there a way to output or present the issues as a list of WCAG 2.1 passes, fails, like an Axe Auditor or Monitor?
Good question. We've gotten feedback to add passes to exports and other reports. We currently don't have that, but it's towards the top of my most frequently requested features on my kind of feature request board. So I hear your pain and you want passes, so I understand, but we don't have that currently. Sorry.
All right. Next question. This one's for you, Shivaji. Where in the product development flow do you use DevTools Pro? Is this more used by developers, functional QA, or design QA?
So as part of my enterprise-wide strategy, we use this at the unit level testing in the dev environment. And, developers develop a code, test it right there, find any issues, they fix them right there. And once they get a clean report, then they pass it on to the testers for QAs to do their level of testing.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Like I said, we have a lot of questions here. So let's see. Next one. Can we share the report to someone that does not have Axe DevTools Pro? Or is it accessible by anyone?
You are covering my butt quite perfectly because I was supposed to mention that. So the way it's going to work as we roll this feature out is if you are part of an enterprise, whether that's a huge enterprise like US Bank or you have purchased more than one seat in Axe Pro, we consider you an enterprise. That will be that shared test and the share issue also will be shared with just people logged in to your enterprise. But to specifically answer your question, you don't have to occupy an Axe Pro seat for that. You can just add them to the Axe account. If you're an enterprise, there's a way to just invite them to the account portal, but don't have them occupy a Pro seat. So those users who aren't using Pro but are part of your enterprise and are logged in, they'll be able to see that shared test artifact. Now, if you're just an individual purchaser, you will actually have basically you can share that link with anybody, regardless of whether they're logged in or logged out. And as long as they have the link, they can see it. But that does mean the implications, just to be very clear, is it's publicly available for those who have the link. And a follow-up question that I'm sure will be asked is, what if I want to unshare my test? And the only way to do that right now is to delete your saved test. So in the extension, if you go to the options menu, you can actually delete that test to unshare it, along with delete all of the issues that you found.
Okay. Let's see. Moving on to another question. This one is regarding experience. What level of accessibility experience do you realistically think a tester needs to use this tool?
I can answer. I don't know if Shivaji, if you want to answer from experience, put you on the spot.
IGT testing. They do need a base level understanding of accessibility for sure, but one can get them up to speed with a moderate level of training. I would put it that way.
Yep. And just to speak to like our target user, the target user, as I said at the beginning of this talk, is an accessibility novice. So ideally, they're technical enough to understand the content, like what should be a heading. But our goal is they don't need that base level of accessibility understanding. So we definitely have some room to improve there. Because as we roll out more features, we always kind of keep ourselves honest and we make sure that these features are catered to complete novices. So that's the goal. In reality, it sounds like I would agree with Shivaji that there is a little baseline expertise needed.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions here. This next one coming in, if there is a large amount of data cells in a table and we are past the header cells, is there a way to skip to the last data cell in the table instead of hitting next for every cell, like a batch confirmation?
Well, you're giving me confirmation to prioritize the ticket that I was pushing for, which is to add support for that. So yeah, currently right now, we understand it's a little clunky. You have to, like I did, smash the next button over and over again. We want to make that testing a little smarter. So something we're tossing around the idea of is to say, hey, is the rest of your table the same? Like, have you covered all of your headers? If so, click here to jump to the last. So yeah, I feel your pain. It's super annoying. We're going to fix that hopefully in the very near future.
All right. Thank you, Harris. And another question we've got coming in. Yeah, like I said, you've gotten the wheels turning. Does
Yes.
Axe DevTools have any integrations with DevOps or Jira?
No, no direct integration. You can export a CSV format of your issues and then do an import into Jira. I know that Jira is extremely configurable, so mapping Axe DevTools Pro CSV columns to specific properties in your issue tracker might be a little bit annoying, but that's right now what you could do. I think it worked pretty well with some of our customers. And obviously, you're not the first person to ask for a direct Jira integration, so it's definitely something that DQ as a whole organization is looking at solving for our customers.
And then one last question here. This one relates to integration of results with other tools. So the question is I saw that Axe DevTools Pro recently has been added to be able to import into Axe Auditor. Can you explain a little bit of how that works?
Yes. So in the extension, if you're an Axe DevTools Pro user, you have I think I brought up the modal briefly, you have this export capability enabled for you. And there is a JSON export of the entire saved test. Like I said, that's very dev-centric. But you take that export and you can import that into Auditor, and it will actually import all of your accessibility testing results into Auditor. So that it's as easy as that. I think there's some documentation on how that all works that hopefully we can share with everyone at the end.
All right. I think that'll close us out. We're coming to the end of our session time. I want to say thank you very much to all of our attendees and Harris and Shivaji for your expertise during this session. For any questions, we had a lot of questions come in and we weren't able to get to all of them. So Harris and Shivaji, after AxeCon, we'll be working to address some of those through our Axe community in Slack. So be sure to check that out. And we hope you all enjoy the rest of your AxeCon.
Thanks, everybody. Happy AxeCon.
Thanks a lot.